Hey everybody! Well, today is the big day. So today is the day that I'm going to attempt to cut a hole in the top of a brand new van. So I'm going to be installing the vent fan today. It's pretty cold here today, but I've got the van in the garage and the sun is shining, so I think it's going to work out pretty good. I'm very nervous to do this. I'm going to measure, check before I start cutting this hole. I was hoping to get somebody over here to kind of just be a second set of eyes for me, but nobody's available. So I'm just going to go for it and do it. And if this doesn't turn out, I'm going to cry a lot. So anyway, so just so you guys can see, here's the fan that I purchased. It is a fantastic fan. I almost went with the Max Air fan, but several people had said that they had some issues with the Max Air fan, and I was a little worried about getting one that was broken. The Fantastic fan seemed to get better reviews, so I'm crossing my fingers that this one will work out the best. This one is only 5 inches tall from the top of the van, and I do have some clearance issues with my garage, so I should be fine with this one. So this one's not fancy. It does have the reverse direction, so it does blow in and suck out, which is one thing that I wanted, but it does not have a remote control or anything. But the van is so small that we should easily be able to reach up there and turn it on, turn it off, and all that stuff. So there you go. I did pick up this kit from Amazon. It comes with butyl tape and some screws. I am going to use the butyl tape, but I'm not going to use the screws. I'm actually going to use the screws that came with the Fantastic fan, because the screws that came with the Fantastic fan are countersunk and they're going to fit down in there just right. And then I'll be able to use some paste on top of them to seal them in. I also picked up some of this lap sealant. This stuff says that you can do it in cold weather, which is really good. It says just make sure this is warm. So this has been in the house ever since I got it, so this should be nice and warm. And so I should be able to lap seal all the edges and the screw holes and everything in the top of the vent when I get it done. Alright, so I went ahead and I marked my hole on the ceiling. I double checked it about 20 times to make sure it was a 14 by 14 hole. So I'm pretty sure that that should be good. And then I went up here on top of the van and I actually took some Gorilla Tape and I put Gorilla Tape on the top so that when I use the skill saw on there, that it won't scratch the paint that's on there. So that should protect it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down inside the van and I'm going to drill some holes up and make sure that my tape is where I actually think my tape should be. Okay, now I've got the ceiling masked to where I think I'm going to be cutting. Hopefully that'll keep down on the metal shavings. I've also put a tarp down to catch as many metal shavings as I can possibly catch. So now let's go up on top and see what we can do. Well, I've got it half cut out. I've got this side completely cut out, and then to the middle here and to the middle here. I don't have anybody to film me while I'm cutting, so you can't see me actually cutting, but it hasn't been too bad so far. I have stayed within the tape, and it would just be so loud with me cutting, it'd be hard to tell what was going on anyway. Okay, well, there goes the warranty right there. There's a hole in the top of the camper, so I did use this rasp right here to kind of make it so that the edges weren't sharp, and cleaned up a couple burrs that were up there where I came together. One of the things, whenever I started pulling the tape off, I thought it was actually pulling the paint off of the top, and that really scared me. But that gray stuff you see is not primer, it is glue from the tape. So I've got some Gooby going. I'm going to go get and clean all that up, and then after I clean that up, I'll dry fit the fan. Okay, well, it took me about an hour and a half to get this all cleaned up. I used about a half a bottle of Gooby Gone, and I did go around the edges with alcohol where I tried to get some of the Gooby Gone off because it's kind of oily and I don't want it to affect the putty tape that goes around the vent. But anyway, you can see I did get it all cleaned off. It looks really nice. No paint issues. And so that was about an hour and a half of my life I'll never get back. And if I had to do that again, I probably would, instead of trying to pull that tape off when the roof was cold, I probably would have started up the van and put some heat on it with a blow dryer or something. I had to use that blow dryer with the Gooby Gone and rubbing and scrubbing to try to get it off, so it wouldn't even come off cold. So I'd probably heat it up before I pulled the tape off, and then hopefully not as much of the residue from the tape would have stayed on the roof. But hindsight's 20/20, and I have to go from here. So I've dry fit the fan in the ceiling and it seems to fit in there perfectly. We can take a look from the top and you can see that it looks pretty good on top. I am going to have to use a lot of the putty tape around the edges because a couple of those edges are going to be into places that go down in these little divots in the roof here. But I think it'll work out just fine. I'll use a lot of lap sealant around that as well. If I had something plastic that I could actually put in there that would kind of fill that in, that would be good too. I might try to find something that I can put in there as a spacer. So it was a pretty productive day. I didn't get completely done installing the fan, but I'll show that in another video. I've got some ceiling work I want to do in the van before I commit to attaching the fan to the top of the van. So I want to get that done. I want to get the hole cut. And then I also have the trim ring, which needs to be slid up through the hole and cut off so that it just goes right up into the fan. I did take some oil-based auto paint and I painted the edge of the hole where I cut it just so that over time moisture doesn't get on that and start to rust it. I'm pretty sure that's stainless steel. I'm pretty sure all these automakers use stainless steel now, but I still painted it just to be on the safe side, and that paint needs to dry. So I did get the insulation up in the top of the van, and once that paint dries, I'll mark that, cut that, get a couple pieces of ceiling plank in there, and then I can stick my sleeve up in there, get a mark, get that cut off, and then I can move forward. But one thing I did do, which was quite interesting, and this would be helpful to you guys if you're trying to do this, if you want to use the duct tape technique that I used, it worked great. It kept me from scratching any portion of the roof of the van. It also kept down the amount of metal shavings because they kind of got stuck to the tape as I cut. But the bad part was that glue. So what I did was I took this part of the van that I cut out and I brought it in the house and I let it warm up. And then I tried pulling the tape off. And as you can see, that I was able to pull the tape off without any glue residue being left on this piece of metal. So if you warm up your roof before you try to pull the tape off, you shouldn't have the issues that I had and the messy cleanup that I had as well. So anyway, that's it for now. I'll come back and I'll show you some more videos once I get some of the ceiling parts in, and probably show you once I've got the trim ring in and all of that stuff. So guys, hang in there. I'm working as fast as I can to get this camper done because I'd like to get it done by spring, but it is really cold here. And that cold temperature just kind of really takes it out of me. So if you like these videos, subscribe. Click that notification bell, and every time I put a new one of these up, it should pop up. And if you want to, you can watch me complete this entire project. So until I see you guys again, happy gaming, happy camping, happy active adventure, and happy everything else.